people who vote get stuff.
Hi, I'm Laura and I am excited AF and very, very grateful to be joined today by the wonderful Tatton Spiller. Tatton is the founder of Simple Politics and I had him on in 2024 just ahead of the surprise general election. And he's come back. What a ledge. This wonderful, respected political strategist and commentator with years of experience working at the heart of UK politics. He is known for his sharp analysis and deep understanding of public opinion. Tatton has contributed to national media and built a reputation for translating complex political dynamics into clear, accessible insights. He's come back to chat to yours truly just ahead of the May 7th elections, because while this isn't a general election, it absolutely still matters for our community, because local and regional decisions quietly shape the things we rely on every single day. From services, funding, schools, transport, houses, the things that we probably don't even think are political are all political and speaking directly to us. If, like me, you've spent years feeling disengaged and disempowered, knowing that the world wasn't built for us, there's so much information, so many opinions, it is absolutely understandable why so many of us just opt out. With politics feeling like some club that you're not on the guest list for, what Tatton and his wonderful team at Simple Politics do is they kick the door down. You don't need the list. They're breaking those barriers down and making everything super simple. When something doesn't impact us directly, ignoring it can be kind of a privilege. And at the same time, politics can feel like celebrity popularity contests and what Tatton simplifies as basically squabbling. And I'm so grateful to Tatton for joining me to cut the bullshit, cut the drama, and just get to the heart of the matter. And heart is something that once again features heavily in this conversation with Tatton. We're here to follow our hearts and engage in this current political climate, actually engage with politics in a way that isn't taking over our entire nervous system. If politics has ever felt distant, confusing, like absolute nonsense that wasn't designed with you in mind, this is the conversation. Before we dive in, I do just want to say, please, as ever, have a read of the description, where not only will you find trigger warnings, you will also be signposted for support with some free resources, and everything about what I'm going to talk about is in the show notes. So there are links to register to vote, which needs to happen by the 20th of April 2026, and more. And little side quest, I would like to invite you to a free in-person ADHD peer support group to connect with other like-minded locals. ADHDF Plus charity connects and empowers ADHD adults of marginalised genders at any stage of their ADHD discovery or diagnosis. Our groups are totally free. They're popping up all over the place. You don't need a diagnosis. You don't need to RSVP. You don't need to stay for the whole thing. You can show up. You can move around. You can be yourself. You can leave when you want. Just come and connect with your peers. And May's focus topic is burnout, meltdowns and shutdowns. And I'll be diving into that topic more in another episode coming very soon. But for now, I will stop rambling on and leave you with the absolutely legendary Tatton Spiller.
Cracking.
Thank you so much for joining me again. For anybody who hasn't come across Simple Politics yet, or who hasn't listened to our previous chat a couple of years ago, how would you explain what you do and why you felt the need to keep it simple?
Well, first of all, I'm very sorry that you haven't caught up with us yet, either on socials or in the excellent conversation that you and I had, Laura. I very much enjoyed it. It's an absolute delight to be back. I had a full-on breakdown in 2013, 14, 15, 16, and dropped out of, I got divorced, couldn't work anymore. Like, it was pretty full-on. And Simple Politics was something I chose to do. It was a lie I told myself. I'm doing something real. I'm setting something up. I'm actually working. I mean, why Simple Politics? So I live with bipolar and I need to read rooms and understand everything that's going on so that I can be safe. And that skill allows me to read politics and understand politics. Not in a better way, but in a different way to other people. Try and break down, try and make it easier for people to have better conversations about politics.
I think it's fantastic. Honestly, I love it so much. It's my dad's key phrase is keep it simple. And it's what I'm always trying to do. And so many of us, I know my leopard army of listeners, we try and keep things simple, and it can sometimes get a bit chaotic. So at least trying to keep it simple is always the preferred option.
Doesn't necessarily reflect a calm mind.
Quite the opposite, I would say.
That's why it's work. You know?
Yeah. And I think what's really, really special about what you do is in keeping it simple, you are obviously making it more accessible. And what do you feel, I mean, prior to doing this, what do you feel gets left out when politics isn't, fully explained?
I think it becomes about personalities. We get swamped into whether or not we like a particular person. We get this cult of celebrity, and it's about bickering. Whereas what politics is choices to make our world a better place. How are we going to make it a better place? That's the question. That's what every single politician, think of the one you dislike the most, right? They still want to make the world a better place. I mean, there's a question about for whom. Are we trying to make the world a better place in Sudan, where they've had this awful war for years and years and years? We're recording this on the 3rd anniversary at the beginning of the war in South Sudan. Are we trying to make the world a better place for them, or are we just focused on... So there are questions even within that, but everybody wants to eliminate poverty in this country. Everybody does. And we've just got different routes to it. And that's where politics is really simple. What are your solutions to the problems we have? What solutions do we get behind? And that's what elections are about. Which set of solutions are we signing up to for our country for the next 5 years?
So May the 7th is coming up. And as this isn't a general election, I believe that can put a lot of people off. Because it's like, well, it's not that important. It's not a general election. Can you simplify what these elections are actually going to mean for the listeners in England, Scotland and Wales, please?
We have just, here in Whitstable, in my hometown, where we don't actually have elections, because not everyone in England does, it's quite complicated. But our council have just resurfaced the basketball court on Westmeads Park, right? That's cost them money to do. And they think it is worth spending that money to give young people purpose, to give young people something to do, to make them feel part of society, all of that stuff. Maybe cut down on antisocial behaviour if we've been more cynical about it, but they've chosen to spend that money. Now that money could have been spent on potholes. That money could have been spent on social care. That money could have been spent literally anything else. Council money is tight. We have a council who chose to spend that money on that thing. Now you might agree. You might say yes, we've got to do that for young people. Or you might say, no, hang on, there was some flooring there before. Like, it wasn't perfect, but also we have cars being written off because we got potholes so big, and that's really stopping people going to work. That's costing people real money. The council needs to sort that out. We need to prioritise. We need to choose. And neither of those are right or wrong. But if you vote for a different council, if you vote for different politicians, then that decision can be different. That's real life. That's real world. When I was on my holidays in Spain once, I saw a playground that had been redone and had a nice big sign that said, your council, Mallorca Council, I think it was, have done this. And it really showed people where their council tax, or whatever tax that it was over there, had been spent. And I loved that. You know, we've got this lovely new basketball court. No one knows. If you think about it, you know, but it's not made clear. If it was made clear where the money was spent, it would be clearer what decisions were being made, and then you want to influence those decisions by voting. The only way to influence those decisions really is by voting for the candidates, putting forward the solutions you agree with.
It's such a good point, isn't it? Because what we're talking about here is the real life day-to-day decisions. And so even, and again, you know, I can only speak from my experience and the people that I've spoken to that listen to this podcast. I think so many of us, not only have we become disempowered because we've been dismissed medically, we've not been listened to, you know, we can throw a bit of misogyny in there as well. And also when you think about even like those figureheads, that kind of celebrity thing. I know people, many people of my generation, that got swept up in the Cool Britannia wave and all our hopes dashed after hands shaken with Oasis and all the rest of it, to suddenly have ended up in a very different place. And I guess really the argument is overcoming that feeling that our voice doesn't matter, and understanding that in these local elections, voting for, you know, the representation on council, we are actually empowered. We are empowered. We are able to make change happen on a really real day-to-day level.
We are, but I think that even that like 90s Cool Britannia era, I became a teacher in 2003. And in the first years of my teaching career, teachers stopped invigilating exams. Teachers stopped had a maximum of one cover lesson a week, forgive me. That government made teaching a better place to be, right? Yes, Tony Blair took us into an illegal war in Iraq. Yes, I mean, that happened, and that will be forever what he is remembered for. But in 1997, the country voted for a government who would improve the life of teachers. And that happened, and that is still the case today. The hours spent invigilating exams is dull. Wandering around a room. Like, you have to play games. We played slow tag. You weren't allowed to run, but you had to catch up with somebody else and tag them. Like, these stupid games, because it's so boring. And like, I'm a trained teacher, what am I doing in there? And now it doesn't happen. And that's still the case today. And that's because people voted for a party who wanted that. These changes do happen. And when we're talking council elections, listen, my friend is a councillor, and they were standing in a seat where they didn't think they would win. It was just an exercise in standing, and they got the exact same number of votes as somebody else. My friend became a councillor on the toss of a coin. Literally, it was the same number of votes. If one more person had turned out to vote for her or the other guy, it would have been different. Councils, when we're talking about councils, the numbers are smaller. So we're talking 1,000 people turning out. So your vote counts so much more. I mean, in Scotland, you've got the list system as well. So you get to vote for your constituency MP, you could MSP, forgive me, and you get to put a vote in another party's box, or the same party's box. And that levels it out. I saw polling this morning that said the Conservatives are scheduled to not win a single constituency seat, but with the list votes, they'll probably get 7, 6, 7, 8 MSPs, because there are lots of people who will vote Conservative, and they will then receive some representation in Parliament, even if they haven't come first. Imagine a situation where any party came second in every single constituency. They would have 0 people in Parliament, even though millions and millions of people voted for them. So that's the point. Lots of people will vote Conservative, but it's probable, who knows, that there will be no constituency MPs, so you have to vote in the list system for Conservative if that's who you want to win. Scottish Conservatives, they're slightly different. But voting, when fewer people are voting, makes a big difference. It is the school holidays. We will probably have a vote later as to which film we watch, right? There's going to be 4 voters out there, all of whom can make a big difference to the eventual outcome of that. Obviously, I can then dismiss their vote and choose something better. But the fact remains, if there's 4 voters, each one's got a major say, right? If you're talking about a constituency, a parliamentary constituency, a general election, your vote is important, don't get me wrong, but you're one of thousands, and it won't make that big. If you're one of hundreds, like I say, my friend got elected on the toss of a coin, and now her vote helps to shape the future of the Canterbury district.
No, absolutely. So with that in mind, we're very empowered. I guess the other element that would ring particularly true for my listeners is that of overwhelm. You know, if you're looking at a manifesto or whatever, like this big, and it can feel like it's very exclusive, and that kind of viewpoint of, well, I don't do politics. How can somebody push past the two? So get past the celebrity element and get past the idea that this is too much information. How much information is good enough, in your opinion, to inform you to vote?
I'm not ever going to judge someone for the amount of information they have. You can vote. If you just feel like you are Labour, or you just feel like you are whatever else, that's okay. It is okay to just vote for a party who you feel represents your values, even if you don't know specifically what they are. Like, it's okay to vote Liberal Democrat because you like Ed Davey. Now listen, Ed Davey has nothing to do with the election you're voting in, nothing at all. But if you do just like him, fine. There's no incorrect way to do it. It's your vote, it's your right. I'm not even going to tell people off for not voting. And a lot of people are upset when I say that, because I get asked to talk about why you should vote. I don't believe in should. I do not believe there is the right way to do anything at all, especially not if it's something I do. I mean, imagine me saying, I vote, so you should vote too.
Well, we've got some pathological demand avoidance at play in our community anyway, so if we're telling people they should do something. Yeah, I know, I totally hear what you're saying. I guess in a way, one of the many ways that I've found quite helpful, well, actually, I'll tell the story within my own family. My mum always, in her latter years, voted a certain way, and I didn't love it. And I said to her, why don't you do this quiz? Why don't you do this quiz and just see? Just see. I know you've always voted this way, but just see, because things change. And obviously it came out a different way. And it did really shock her. And I was like, well, there you go. Like, that, to my mind, is quite a relatively accessible and easy way to kind of simplify finding answers. Do you agree with that? Are there any quizzes that you think are good?
I completely agree with that. I very much hope that quiz was Vote for Policies, because I worked on that for a while, and the guy that runs it, Matt, is fantastic, and it's actually ground to a halt now. So I'm hoping that Simple Politics can bring it back in our own way, take ownership of it. But I don't know. It is so disparate. What the councils are offering is different across England, and that's a different set to Wales, and that's a different set to Scotland. So I don't know of any quizzes or anything like that can take place. I can't build one for these elections because there's no clear picture. What you might get is leaflets through your door. Now, don't trust much, because they put dodgy graphs in, they put dodgy statistics in, and they're quite manipulative. But what you will see is what they want to be talking about. So some will come through your door and they might be talking about immigration. And if that's something that matters to you, then that party is showing you that that's what they care about. Maybe it's antisocial behaviour. Maybe it's resurfacing the basketball courts. Maybe it's because just as I'm saying there's no should for you, there's no should for political parties. They start these leaflets off with a blank page and they choose what to put on it. So you can tell a lot about a party by what they put through the door and how it feels. And again, I'm talking about emotions, not policies, because you're right, manifestos can be very daunting, but you're not just voting on the manifesto. People who voted Labour in 2024 voted for a manifesto, and lots has changed since then. So a lot of those manifestos, maybe you call them U-turns, maybe you call them just compromises, whatever you feel about it. No one voted in 2024 on how this country should react to Donald Trump's war in Iran. We voted for Keir Starmer to be Prime Minister, and we voted for him to respond to these things. And that's nothing to do with concrete manifestos. That's to do with who we think would make the best Prime Minister. And as a country, we overwhelmingly said, given the people in front of us, Keir Starmer you are the best Prime Minister. We want you responding to things that come up. And that's not exclusively Keir Starmer. If there's a leadership challenge, then maybe we'll have Angela Rayner responding. So that feeling about a party is really relevant because they can't list all the things they're going to spend money on in 3 years' time. They can't do it. It's impossible to do.
And we don't know what the future holds, exactly.
We don't know what the future holds. We want someone who has our values, who represents us, to be in the council, to be in the Senate, to be an MSP. We want them to represent who we are as closely as possible. Now, it's impossible for them to exactly match you. I mean, I don't know how much neurodivergence there is. What about race? What about sexuality? What about, all of these things? Like 1 in 100 people, I think, are bipolar, or I think like the bipolar UK say something like that. So what? That's 650 MPs, 6.5. I demand that 6.5 MPs live with bipolar. Like, it's ridiculous. You can't cut it each way. So you won't have someone standing with whom you completely agree. That is not a reasonable expectation. But you want someone in your council, in your Senate, in your Scottish Parliament who gets it, who represents your vibe, your jam, who believes in some of those core values that you believe in. If you don't vote, then you're less likely to get that. I mean, listen, just really cynically, the triple lock. And again, we're talking about Westminster government here. The triple lock. People who are older are more likely to vote. So we have a system in place where pension will grow every year. Even if there's no inflation, it will grow by 2.5%. So we guarantee pensioners more income every year in line with inflation, or 2.5%, or wages, or whatever the other one is. And young people have no guarantees. So people who vote get stuff.
Yeah, well, there you go. You put that very simple. People who vote get stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because politicians want to be re-elected.
Yes. Obviously, the cut-off point to register to vote is, I believe it's the 20th of April. I've actually moved house, so I did it last night. It took me 2 minutes to do. The only issue is having a national insurance number, which it was bullied into me that I had to remember. When I was 14, someone told me I had to remember it or it was illegal. Anyway, it's stuck. I've still got it in there. I can't remember people's names, but I've got it.
The threats we tell. Yeah, I just search in my inbox on Gmail. So I just put national insurance number and it always comes up, and I just cut and paste it from there.
Right, I'm pressing pause on this conversation to have a little break in which, if you haven't already registered to vote, you can do so right now as I ramble on. If you're listening and you haven't registered to vote, this isn't a nag, it isn't even a nudge. I'm just saying, why not do it right now whilst I'm yamming on? Because it'll only take 5 minutes tops. I literally did it yesterday. All you need is your national insurance number and a few basic details. So you head to gov.uk/register to vote, or head to the link in the show notes. It is right in there. You click on that, fill in your name, date of birth, national insurance number, and press submit. That's it. You'll get a confirmation when you're done. There are no long forms, no stress spiral, no drama. However, so go do that now whilst I ramble a bit more. However, I want to address some barriers around photo ID. So when you go to vote, you do need photo ID. And if you're on a lower income, you don't travel internationally, or you're a younger voter, you may not have a passport. For me personally, I don't drive, so I don't have a driving license. Or you might have a form of ID which is out of date and therefore expired and will not be valid. That would prevent you from being able to vote because it doesn't meet the criteria, such as your details might not match because you've changed your name or address. On top of this, having photo ID, it comes with the accessibility and admin barriers that so many of us are up against. For techno-tits like me, online admin and official processes can be really daunting. And not to mention, documents like birth certificates may be lost or hard to get hold of. And on top of this, passports and driving license, as I said at the beginning, they are not cheap. Well, I have some very good news. If you do not have photo ID, you can still vote. You can get a voter authority certificate. It's free, official ID just for voting, and it comes with another deadline. So if you do not have photo ID, you can apply for a free voter authority certificate as long as you do it by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 28th of April 2026. You just need to go to gov.uk, search voter authority certificate, upload a quick photo, pop in your details, and you're done. You can go to the official government website via the link in show notes, where you just need to confirm that you're registered to vote, upload a passport photo. You can just do it as a selfie. You just need to follow the guidelines that are stated there, enter your national insurance number, and submit the application. That's it. It will be processed by your local council and then sent to you totally free of charge. But just a reminder, if you have photo ID, you don't need that. That's only if you don't have it. The most important thing to do right now is to register to vote via link in show notes. It's quite interesting, infuriating, whatever words I can think of. You mentioned Trump, and let's be honest, it is really tough times. We're all bombarded on social media. There's so much going on. We so often are just seeing our own world reflected back at us. That's how the algorithm works. How are you able to stay neutral? Because you do have to be neutral when you're using your platform. You have to give a neutral stance. Is that hard to do? Has it become harder?
No, I don't think it has. I think the reception to things is harder, but let's go right back to the beginning of our conversation. It's about competing ways to make life better. The SNP have announced in their manifesto they're going to give school bags out to people when they start school, because they've had a baby box scheme for a long time. When you have a baby box is delivered or given to you at some point, and it's got all kinds of goodies to help you out, just to help you start off with advice and nappies and food or whatever it is. And it has been such a success, they say, that they're now going to do a school bag, which is a school bag, but a water bottle and a pen and whatever else. That's what they want to do. And other people say, you are spending so much money on this when 95% of school starters can afford a bag, can afford a pen. You are like, it's sure, it might be a nice thing to do, but universal benefits are very expensive and only benefit a small number of people. So why not target it? Why not do it through the schools? Give equipment in the schools to the people who need it, so the schools can decide. We all know that teachers are already spending their own money on resources, but also on pens for the children in front of them, because they come to school without them, and teachers are spending that stuff. So why not divert the money into funds in schools who can then distribute this stuff, right? There is no wrong answer here. So for me to be neutral, of course, there might be a bit of me that thinks one of those is more important or better than the other, but that doesn't make me better than anybody else. These arguments are fundamental to our politics. How should we do things? Winter fuel allowance. The thing you're not allowed to talk about is privatising the NHS. Right? You're not allowed to talk about that. And when people do, they get laughed out of town. Should we be paying for rich people's healthcare? Should we or not? I mean, for me, that's a fundamentally interesting question. Universalism is a fascinating topic. Should we be paying for millionaires? I mean, sure, lots of them go private anyway, but for GPs, a lot of people don't go private. So billionaires go to their local GP, right? They're taking up a slot. Are we happy paying for that? I mean, these are fundamentally interesting questions that there's no right answer for. Being neutral is so easy if you look at it as policy-based, different solutions.
And I think it's really interesting as well, because the phrase that we've all heard time and again is, I'm not political, I'm not into politics. And the funny thing is that I know how opinionated people are. Everyone has an opinion, and that's it. Like, it really is that simple. It's like, what do you think would be the best course of action here? And having your say, and that's it.
Like buses. Everyone cares about the bus. Bins. Everyone cares about the bins. And bins are council, are Scotland, are Wales. if you care about how many bins you have to put out or how frequent the bins are collected, this is the election you vote in, register to vote now. I'm not political. I'm not into politics. Comes from Keir Starmer, comes from Kevin Badenoch, comes from Nigel Farage, comes from watching that lot bicker, watching that lot, and it feels like watching them fail time and time again, watching them do their thing, and then we go to the shop and we can't afford to buy as much as we could last week because petrol's gone up by 25%. They are squabbling while we are struggling. And that makes people go, they're all the same. Sod the lot of them. That's why reducing it to choices and understanding these policy options, reducing it to values really, really matters. And especially in the council elections, and especially in Scotland and Wales, because those people aren't even involved, right? The people you dislike, because you see them they're not even there. They've got nothing to do with it. They share a logo or a name. And yes, they share some values. The Scottish Greens share lots of values with the Green Party in the Wales. They're not the same. They disagree on some things, but they share fundamental values with Zach Polanski. So, yeah, if you like Zach Polanski, maybe you might vote for them in Scotland. If you don't like Zach Polanski, probably don't vote for them in Scotland. If you've got time, if you've got headspace, you can Google Scottish Lib Dems right now, and you'll see their front page, and you go, that's what they're about. It doesn't take hours of research. Just, if you're thinking about voting for someone, Google them. See what they're saying.
And with regards to like political structures, like you have kept it really simple. It is that straightforward. This is what's happening locally. If people were to look forward to the next general election, say, does this vote count? We know it counts locally. Does it count towards the bigger picture?
It's such a difficult question.
I know, I'm sorry.
The Reform slogan for this election is vote Reform, get Starmer out. It sounds illogical because this has nothing to do with him, but they're saying when he does historically badly, they've been the majority in Wales forever, since the Senate was set up, forever. And they're going to come third or even fourth in Wales this election. Like, it is going to be historically bad for Labour, for lots of reasons, but it's going to be historically bad. And Nigel Farage and Reform are saying, if it is bad enough, Starmer has to resign. Because it is a reflection on him, even if we shouldn't be looking at Westminster, because there's nothing to do with Westminster, it is fundamentally a reflection on him, and he's got to go. He also says the instability within the Labour Party would mean there has to be an election next year. Because once he goes, there's going to be infights, there's going to be all kinds of things.
Is that true?
I don't know. I think that pre-Iran, I was saying that Starmer was going to leave in May. Because I've been saying it for a long time. If you look at the by-election that we had in Gorton and Denton, where Hannah Spencer won for the Greens.
Hannah the plumber.
Hannah the plumber. If you look at political polling, it's going to be catastrophic for the Labour Party. And he has to, at some point, take some of that on board. You know, he will say 14 years of Conservatives. He will say it takes time. He will say it's, Donald Trump. He will say all of that stuff. But fundamentally, we all know he's a deeply unpopular man in the country. So what happens next? I mean, do we really think he's going to stand down now? No, because the Iran war's going on. And he's always felt he looks best in the public eye. And I think there's less hunger for a leadership election right now when we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if there's going to be an extended ceasefire, or if every morning I wake up and check my phone to see if it's all blown up all over again. Is this the time for the UK to be squabbling amongst the government? And I think that fundamentally there are enough people within Labour, because no one else can change it. Right? There's enough people within Labour who will think twice about challenging Keir Starmer at this point. There's a lot of people in the Labour Party who think Starmer has to go. The results are going to be catastrophic for him. But I don't think he's going to go in the way that it was. I felt certain he was off. And Kemi Badenoch, I thought she was going to go too, because the Conservatives are going to get rinsed too, even worse than they were at the election, because Reform are going to do better. But I think she survives it too. So I think that the Westminster picture is more solid now because the world is less solid now. Just to underline this point again, to get rid of Keir Starmer, Labour MPs need to get rid of him. To get rid of Kemi Badenoch, Conservative MPs need to get rid of her until there's a general election, right? So it doesn't matter how many people in the country want Starmer to go. If the Labour Party think this isn't the right time for him to go, he won't go. He can resign. He's not very resigning. As much as Nigel Farage would like it if he goes, because that chaos would then really benefit Reform, I don't think he's correct in saying, I understand his logic.
And it's just bringing people into this kind of the sides against sides. Well, the squabbling is bringing people into the squabbling.
It is really frustrating. Vote Reform, get Starmer out, because I'm spending all my time saying it's not about Westminster, and Reform is saying it's about Westminster.
I'm always looking at things from the angle of how the community that I serve is represented and what will benefit. Since our last conversation, we have started a charity. So we now have ADHDF Plus Charity, which is why I was asking about neutrality, because I find it bloody hard as a founder of this charity to be politically neutral. But I'm always looking at it from that angle and saying, well, you know, the various parties have these policies about how neurodivergent communities would be served. But I think it's very interesting. Quite a lot of them, the focus is on early intervention and on children, which is obviously essential. But my lane is very specific, and I'm worried about those people, the 500,000 on waiting lists that are literally in danger.
In terms of the charity, you will have seen that every party agrees that mental health should be treated in the same way as physical health, given parity, which doesn't mean anything at all.
Yeah, because physical health is treated so well, particularly in women and people of marginalised genders. Yeah. I
don't know to what extent I'm allowed to swear, but what the fuck? They've been saying that for so long. For so long, they've been saying, oh, we should have parity. We should have What? It's just nonsense because it's so different. Like, and parity, I mean, what does that even mean? Like, it's this phrase that someone in the 90s thought of, and everyone just goes, oh, yeah, it should have parity. What are you actually going to do? I mean, we don't need to go into secondary services and mental health or neurodivergence. They're struggling, and I don't even know how I would sort it. If I was suddenly the Minister of Health, the Secretary of State, right? I wouldn't know. I've got no way, no magic wand, because what is needed is so crushingly expensive. The services that we need, ideally, to look after, to support the welfare of the millions of people who suffer with ADHD plus, with bipolar, with what they call mild mental health conditions that can still stop you in your tracks. How do you begin to find the money, to find the structures, to find what works, to fund long-term good therapy? It's what's needed. 100% is what's needed. How are you going to fund it?
Eat the rich.
You eat the rich, you get one tasty meal, but then you get one fewer rich, you know?
Very true. It's a flawed argument.
It is a flawed argument.
I think we could be here all day. We could be here all day, and it's so lovely to talk to you, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Going back to your original point and the point that you made in our previous conversation, because when we first spoke a couple of years ago, you said politics is about peace and love. The other day, I went on the Together Alliance march. There was a lot of peace and love on the streets of London that day, and it was really, really hopeful. And so I think, really, the way that we make sure that we are empowered and as informed as we feel is right for us is to just bring it back to that. So peace and love, how do we make things better? and remembering that, especially in these local elections, your voice really does matter because there's not that many people talking.
I want to jump in there, and I just want to be clear that the left does not have a monopoly on peace and love. It is often presented. I mean, we were talking about a moment ago. Zach Polanski dancing in Trafalgar Square was a joyous moment.
Have it.
And no one could. I say no one could look at that and go, well, that's not very nice, but it's lovely. But so much of the traditional values of conservatism, for example, the concept of charity, the stuff that people are doing every week, is so full of peace and love. Conservatism with a small c is about just quietly. David Cameron called it the big society. David Cameron spoke about people providing for people. And that is about peace and love as well. And so we are all striving for peace and love. We're all striving to make the world better, to eradicate poverty, to look after people whose health needs support. We're all looking for that. Peace and love, that's what it's about. And competing visions of how to make the world a better place, which we all want to do.
Thank you so much for your time. And how do people find Simple Politics? How do they find you?
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I mean, any social media, we're lurking around. We have got a website, but it's rubbish. A sneak preview on the 8th of May, we're launching Simple Animals as a joyous, happy place to kind of counteract what we talk about simple politics and simple money, which is quite tough and quite bleak. So simple_animals UK on Instagram and Facebook, and it's going to be a lovely little space of peace and love.
Amazing. Thank you so much for everything you do and all of your team, you amazing people. Peace and love to you, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Laura.
I am super grateful to Tatton for speaking to me today. I was chuffed to speak to him before, and I'm all the more chuffed to speak to him again. Do go and check out Simple Politics if you haven't already, and support these legends. And I'm speaking for myself. I may well be speaking for you too when I say it's a little bit chaotic internally. So to have things simplified externally is very, very helpful. And I also just want to thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Whether you've been nodding along, half distracted, doing something else, hopefully registering to vote if you haven't already, you're here. And I couldn't be more grateful. The elections on the 7th of May might not be the big flashy general election moment, but they still matter. They shape your local area, your services, your day-to-day life, all the stuff that actually hit your world day to day in real time. And I know that politics, as I said, it can feel like that private members club you weren't invited to. It can feel like it's all for nothing when things that you've believed in don't come into fruition. Believe me, I know. But the main message of this episode, whatever you choose to do with it, is do not underestimate your voice. Use it if you can. Show up in your own way, even if it's imperfect, especially if it's imperfect. One of my favourite songs by Skunk Anansi, Yes, It's Fucking Political. Everything is political, and you are already part of it, whether you feel it or not. So please don't ever let it feel like something that's not for you. Using my voice led us here and led others to use theirs in their local areas. We now have 13 peer support groups in May, connecting and empowering ADHD adults of marginalised genders, and that is all from using our voices, sharing our experiences, looking at the support that's needed, looking at how we can make life better, not just individually, but as a community moving forward, how we can improve our quality of life. It is peace and love, and we have done it because we've shown up imperfectly, just using our voices. Us here, the Leopard Print Army, we have proven that we can make change happen, that we can shape the future, that we can have a say in our future and build communities and make life better. And I thank you all so, so much. I also want to say an enormous thank you to everyone who has voted for ADHDAF Plus Charity and the work of ADHDAF Plus Charity indirectly through me in the National Diversity Awards. So the salacious rumours continue for another year that I am a positive role model, which is one I certainly had never been called before up until starting this platform, I can tell you. So I've been nominated for Positive Role Model for Disability and for Gender, and our CHAZA, ADHDAF Plus Charity, has been nominated for Community Organisation Award for Disability and Gender. And I just want to say thank you so, so much for voting there. So it's all about voting, and I tell you what, I can actually see what people write in their votes. I have to really brace myself to read them because I'm just so overwhelmed by the words. They're so, so touching. So thank you very much. It would be incredible to get us shortlisted, but obviously everyone who's been nominated deserves to be there. So just thank you very much. And remember, however bleak things can feel, however scary things can feel, and however inaccessible things can be, change can happen, and your voice matters. It really does. And our ADHDAF Plus facilitators look forward to welcoming you. All details are in the show notes, and I hope to see you online in the podcast peer support community or at one of the first live events that we are facilitating as a charity. They are called Easy Target, Connecting, Empowering and Arming ADHD Adults of Marginalised Genders. And I cannot wait to share more about that. I've got some very big news and I can't wait to invite you to the pilot very, very soon. But for now, if you haven't already, please go and register to vote. Let's continue to lead with peace and love and make the world a better place. We are the Leopard Print Army. Hear us roar.